playoffs contention. Sorry about that one. Looks like my audio settings are still a little scuffed. My name's Kbot. You all know me. You're on my channel. And I am joined by Hitzel. Hitzel, how you doing?
Pretty good. I'm pretty happy to get invited on as a guest here. That is my the sentence that I'm going to use to force Kbot to explain everything about the team. since I'm just hopping on in now.
Yeah. Should be a good one, of course, if you're just joining us. Radiance versus Usual, guys. Radiance is one of those teams that we probably would have expected to have been towards the top of the European division. Right now, they're sitting in the middle. They've had a little bit of struggle really finding their footing so far in this league. They're going up against the Usual guys, who has also been having a difficult time finding their footing in this league or meeting the expectations that we had for them. And it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens here. So we were talking a little bit about it with you earlier, Hitzel, before we went online. Volti is actually a new addition to the TASL roster, is coming in, is replacing Otru. So now they replace a Kensa machine with a carbon roller. And we'll have to see exactly how that plays out for them.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about this before we hopped online, and something that we were kind of alluding to is the fact that, you know, with this team comp where like the only kind of support player is Sendao, we have basically Sendao playing usually with the Tenebrella and then a lot of like aggressive weapons and or backlines. What happens when you have a tent and a team like that isn't really well balanced? Maybe they have like too much aggression and no paint, or like too much paint and no real slayers. Is that what ends up happening is sometimes the tent will be sort of forced to like commit to what it does with its shield. And if the rest of the team isn't flexible enough to kind of work with that, you often have like these little like wrenches in the gears that kind of make the team like make this mistake where, oh, I should have been over here, but I'm not, and things kind of fall apart. That's something that we want to look out for, the fact that we are kind of replacing one aggro weapon with another aggro weapon that doesn't paint, which I believe Volti is just a complete one-trick carbon, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
that's what we expect anyway.
Right, right. So that's something to look out for, and how you know. Something to look out for, like how does the Usual guys incorporate this carbon roller into their team comp? You know, do we kind of see like these issues with like paint and stuff like that, or do we see like a lot of really good teamwork and a lot of setting up kills that lead to types of control that don't need the paint? That's something I'll be looking out for. But one thing that we didn't talk that much about before we got online is Radiance, and I'd kind of like to hear your thoughts on like how this team's expected to perform, because both of these teams, I believe if they lose, they either are guaranteed to not make it out or they shouldn't make it out, and both of them are kind of like underperforming compared to like if you look at the names what you'd expect. So what are your thoughts really on Radiance?
I think, again, Radiance has been underperforming compared to expectations that we probably had for them entering this event. I mean, this is the same, a large part of the same roster that was playing for Alliance Rogues, or the Grugu for life that was spawned off of Alliance Rogue. Even thinking back to Inkstorm, they were our highest performing Western team. And they've kind of fallen from grace. They've been having a little bit of a hard time finding their footing. They had a close 5-4 set that they lost in Game 9 versus Rift earlier in the league, which is entirely a French team. Erza headlining that lineup pretty much. Yeah. And Zeraz and Alexei, I think, on that team. But
familiar faces, yeah.
Familiar faces still, but like probably would have expected Radiance, a group of players that have played around for a longer time, to come out on top of that match. But they just haven't been able to do that so far, and we'll have to see if they're able to take this one. We expect them to still be the favorites, but we'll see if they can hold on. We're going to be loading into Game 1. Tower Control Ancho-V Games is the Game 1 starter map. We hop on into this match in a composition that we were kind of expecting come out of the Usual guys, but actually Brian on the Charger for Tower Control here, Hitzel.
All right, cool. And we do kind of see the expected weapons being chosen. We see the carbon roller, we see the machine actually, and we do see Sendao on the NZAP. So maybe that is the type of adaptation that we need to see for this team to be able to do well. We see the armor popping right here off the beginning. As Usual guys is able to take mid-map right now. I don't see any member of either team going down, so I'm not really sure exactly what the catalyst is going to be to some kind of larger push, but we have Sendao right here kind of being really aggressive and sharking a lot with what's supposed to be the pinning weapon. That was a little bit unexpected of the NZAP in that situation, but Usual guys are going to have some members taken out. We see Gray hopping on tower, and this is the first real push. Right now we see some defenders from Usual guys get taken out, so this tower might move pretty far before it's actually stopped.
Those are the kinds of plays that you're going to see Volti going for, and it's the question of can Volti catch these members of Radiance off guard. Was not able to do so in that case, and now Kiver Sharking here has the Inkjet at the ready, going to be popping this momentarily, and here's the engage. Inkarma comes out as well, trying to target Brian here, but as you mentioned, very nice wall is going to allow Brian to at least get away. Watson goes down though, and that means that Radiance is going to continue this push. Bomb goes off the tower, that could mean Hypnos going down, but 35 takes the timer left to go. With a 2-down situation even still, the Usual guys are having a very difficult time finding their footing, finding their paint control, control, and now another 2-down situation. Radiance just going to continue this push and going to go for the knockout.
Yeah, I mean, a big weakness to a weapon like the comp Usual Guys is playing is this kind of inability to take back ground very quickly. Things have to be kind of set up for you. Right now we see Usual Guys jumping out, send out, trying to get a pick, doesn't get it. Brian kind of the last person alive to stop this. I don't really know if it's even possible. Brian and Kibber having this fight around tower, and yeah, that is going to be it right then and there. I mean, leading up to the end of that game, I think that the difficulty in defending was almost sort of expected, right? Like we have like not much ability to really do much, and things like Carbon and Machine sort of need some kind of control presented to them to do something. But I think that like the problems that Usual Guys were displaying in that match kind of started before that final push, right? I was kind of surprised at how Sendao was kind of like going for that shark at the beginning right there, and I didn't really notice any teammates around him. And just knowing Sendao's like play style and things that I've seen from the past, it doesn't really seem like the kind of decision making that he would go for. It seems like he would be the kind of person making sure that there's paint, making sure that he's watching the flank, making sure that the Machine and that Carbon are in the correct positions to try to go for something like that. I mean, if there was a Carbon roller there, he definitely would have had a better shot of getting a pick. But there was also like armored enemies right there, so it was weird to see that shark either. So either way, what I'm saying is
here's the thing. That looked like a classic tent umbrella position for Sendo there. Not an NZAP position. That was a 10 umbrella position to try to lock down the entirety of that street. But
yeah,
mate, you're not holding the right weapon for that. And then compounding on top of the rest of that, I mean, given the fact that we saw H3 and NZAP come out from Radiance, and a couple of other weapons there as well, just didn't quite seem like there was enough painting power from Usual Guys, and they were completely outpainted for the entirety of that game. They kind of started coming back with that a little bit at the end. But,
on one hand, yes, and another hand, no, because Carbon and Carbon Roller on paper is supposed to be really good against shooters, so there is ways to play around this. We'll see if they can adapt now. This is a larger map. We do see a Tri-Slosher coming out of Usual Guys, so Sendao's under a lot of pressure to paint, and he's kind of off to the side right now. Again, a little bit weird to see the one painting weapon not really in the core of kind of like the death ball, I should say. But right now we see Wazam getting this pick right here in the middle with the Tri-Slosher. This is a different start than last time. We have a 3v2 situation for Usual Guys. They should be able to kind of gain some ground here. Let's see how the beginning of this game goes.
We'll have to see. It looks like a couple of trades back and forth here. But I think, as you mentioned, and one of the things we're noticing here with Usual Guys, they are very much more split up across the map, which for a player like Volty could be beneficial, trying to flank, trying to pull off some sharking plays. But otherwise, I mean, right now...
Volty should be the only one doing that, though.
Right, exactly. And a lot of the times that there's a lot of these teams, you mentioned Sendo off the time, now Watson's kind of alone here, might be trying to come in from behind on Obito and is going to find that. And perhaps this will allow the Usual Guys to move forward here with the members of Radiance off guard and out of position. But it's going to go down here to Kivers and Zap. 2-down situation for Radiance should allow the push to come through for Usual Guys.
If Gray doesn't get this this little cheeky kill right here, oh, he does get it. I was going to say, if Gray doesn't get this right here, this would be a really big moment for Usual Guys. This is a successful defense, and we do see a Stingray ready, so I don't expect Usual Guys to make any ground anytime soon. I think that Radiance is going to be able to kind of like turn this around and take back some map control. But at least we're seeing, better attempts at like getting stuff together than game one for Usual Guys. Maybe that was like a little bit of a fluke, but right now we see multiple kills coming out of this Stingray. That's a triple. This is going to be really big. Now, how does Radiance push this Rainmaker in contrast to what we saw from Usual Guys earlier? We see Sendao and Kipper kind of having a one-on-one. Sendao, the only person really on the map to be able to make an immediate stop to this Rainmaker push. If he's going to get taken out, the Rainmaker does get taken out by what I'm assuming is the backline of Brian, but now, Kipper actually gets taken out, so this is actually pretty good defense.
Watson is able to stall this out for a little while longer. It's a 2-down situation for Radiance. We'll see if the Usual Guys can pick this up and try to make something work out of this. But, I mean, as you mentioned, by the way, with that Ray triple, am I watching, like, early Splatoon 2 or something? Rays don't get triples anymore, guys. I don't know where that came from, but it looks like here Usual Guys is going to maintain control of mid. They're going to have the Rainmaker in their possession. They're using their specials early on to try to catch out some of these members of Radiance, try to see exactly where they're coming from. They can't quite seem to find much of anything. Looks like one armor user going down, but Wadsum's going to get taken out here. Now with the Stingray coming on through, that is going to be a thorn in the side of the Usual Guys. Hypnosis Stingray coming in clutch once again.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Stingray has been nerfed. I also have been hearing a lot of people complaining about Custom Jet Squelcher as a weapon as of late. Maybe we're starting to see why. Usual Guys, as I say this, gets the lead. They push up to this ramp. Now, historically on this map in Rainmaker, that particular spot where the Rainmaker was stopped is more or less the make it or break it point unless you're going for that left flank. So, in other words, Radiance is going to have to put together a a well-developed push in order to break this, right? Like, that was the first actual push that we've seen in this game. So now we have less than 2 minutes to see another team do it.
Yeah, we'll have to see exactly what ends up happening here. Obito is going to take out one, and now a 3-down situation with you guys. By the way, that push forward from you guys earlier, it was a 3-down situation that opened that up, and I don't think we quite were able to see what caught that. That's why we have the overhead camera here, because auto cam is sometimes not our friend. But Obito trying to put in some more work. The custom jet squelchers. Ray's going to hop on board. They are going to take the lead off of this. It's another complete wipe on the side of you guys, and this could be the pop. An immediate rush to the pedestal here for Radiance. Brian's the last one up here on this charger, but it's going to be the dunk coming in from Kiver. That's going to be Radiance going up 2-0 in the set.
Man, we called it. Like, I think I precisely said that, you know, this ramp right here where Usual Guys is able to push the Rainmaker is the make it or break it point, unless the enemy takes that left flank, and that's exactly the next push that they went for. So that is going to be a quick turnaround. You know, the Usual Guys showing a lot of signs of life. But,
15K.
man, look at that.
Really?
I mean, a lot of those came from those Stingrays, right? Like, that was... that all came out of, like, 2 plays.
That's just disgusting.
It's disheartening.
I'm sorry, it's just disgusting.
Guys. Yeah. So this is one of the classic like casting situations for me, where I'm watching one team struggle to keep up with another team, and every time it seems that they've solved the problem they had last game, they're presented with a new problem and immediately can't solve it. So Usual Guys is going to have to start solving these problems the game that it happens instead of the game afterwards. Right now, you know, they're able to fix the problem of last game is not really getting like good map control. Now they were actually getting map control, and they were making pushes that seemed like intentional and made sense. But now they're not able to kind of like go for these bigger pushes and defend these bigger pushes and bigger plays. The first game, I think it was a little bit consequence of something of another problem why the tower pushed so far, but that Rainmaker push didn't have to happen. I think that we need to see Usual Guys. They got to solve this, and whatever the next thing that Radiance throws at them next, they're going to have to solve that too, because they're losing a lot of games.
Now, that said, the last map was a Radiance pick. This map is a Usual Guys pick. It's Splatzone's Blackbelly Skatepark, somewhere where perhaps we expect a Tri-Slosher carbon combination to be able to cause a little bit more chaos on the map on the whole, especially able to solo cap some of these very small zones and tight quarters. So I'm interested to see exactly what comes out. Of course, Explosher coming out as well from Brian, which is something that we were kind of expecting here leading into the Usual Guys composition. And Sendo going to have the Junior to round things out for them. We'll see what comes in from the other side. But of course, Obito picks up the Tri-Slosher for himself.
Yep, now this, we do have the 1 Slosher to 2 matchup. Tri-Slosher tends to be pretty important on this matchup, but we also see Kiver with the Neo Splash-O-Matic. Those burst bombs and the bomb rush are all actually really good at taking ground on this map and taking zone, as well as working with the Tri-Slosher. So it's pretty synergistic. We see the Carbon Roll running up there and getting that double. That is huge map control for Usual Guys. We said that the problem they needed to solve last time was to go for decisive pushes. Let's see how this works out. Let's see how they handle the take-back afterwards.
Sendo's almost already at the armor, so going to have that in the next engagement, try to fend this off in the offensive from Radiance. But right now, they're holding up this lockout pretty well. It is going to be Watson going down on the Tri-Slosher, but the Ink Armor comes out of Radiance, and they're not quite stepping on forward here, at least Ray isn't either. And second Ink Armor, of course, and that's the double Ink Armor composition that Radiance likes to run. Now, Ray going to make a dash for the opposing zone with the 2-down situation on Usual Guys. Still haven't found the cap on both zones at the same time yet. And now with the 2-down situation, Radiance can make it even more difficult to do. The dive in comes in from Watson to shut that one down. 3-down situation for Radiance, and Usual Guys could go for the knockout here.
Yeah, they could definitely go for the knockout. Whatever happened with that bomb rush from Kiver in that, that take-back situation, it did not get a cap on zone, and that means no penalty. So now it's Radiance that's going to have to be a little bit desperate in their take-back right now. Not what you want to see. Wazen's position being called out by that armor, but I don't think it matters. He's in a great position to defend this right now. Not many seconds left. I mean, even if Radiance is able to get some kind of penalty here, I think Usual Guys is still in a great situation. One person go down. Wazen,
what is his positioning? Okay.
That was some really good dodges. Finally, we see Radiance taking back the map. Now the tables are going to be turned. It's going to be Usual Guys' turn to show, hey, we can also take back as well. We can hold on to this lead. 10 is a very strong number to have to fight back against for Radiance. So we'll see what Usual Guys is able to do. A little bit of back and forth right now, but still no penalty.
Interesting though about Usual guys is they're not being afraid to just step forward. They're not being afraid to go for these individual plays. You see Brian on the side being pesky with the Explosion. Sendo did go down with the armor, which is going to delay the push back in to take complete control for the Usual guys for a long while. Hypnosis Ray is going to come out, gets another one on the jump in. That's going to be another two-down situation. Two-down situation actually for both teams here, and things are very neutral right now. But both these on the back lines can't quite seem to do much of anything without a whole ton of map pressure, and with the kind of playstyles and defensive positions that Radiance are taking.
Nice shot by the Carbon. The Carbon actually doesn't get the pick. This is going to be pretty bad. The Neo Slasher-Matic, I'm sorry, the Tri-Slasher is able to follow up on that damage. He ends up getting a trade right there, but this is a penalty. This is a big difference between the two defenses we've seen so far. This is really good for Usual guys. This gives them some breathing room. This means that they can take back control a little bit later when the time is right instead of having to be desperate about their take back. Now we see the Stingray going out from Hypnosis. Probably going to contribute to a lot of map control and a lot of momentum for Radiance, but they're going to have to do a lot in order to turn this into a win. Usual guys being able to put up that penalty while their opposite was a big deal. We do see Radiance once again though in control. We see Hypnos kind of up top. We see Kiver making sure that he's building this bomb rush. Any kind of attempted to push back, take back is going to be met with specials now, and that's going to be a little bit of difference than what we saw from last time.
Here we go. Ink Armor's going to come out of Usual guys. It's met with one on Radiance, but now it's already going to be the situation that's going to be that cap back the other direction for the Usual guys. 3 down once more for Radiance. This is going to allow the cap coming in for Usual guys and hopefully allow them to move forward a little bit. Go for that more of a lockout situation that we saw from them perform so well earlier. I want to see them get a little bit more forward. Brian sitting here on top mid is going to be forced to pop the ball. Is able to find the one there with the help of a teammate. The Usual guys are going to hold on this for the time being. Gray is going to dive on in and get taken down. Brian's now applying even more pressure and is going to find one onto Hypnos. That is absolutely massive for them here, and it looks like the Usual guys are going to hold onto the zone for the time being. Perhaps one more last-ditch effort coming in from Radiance.
Radiance is definitely in a position where they're going to have to be a little bit desperate, because if they don't get this next push right, they basically are going to have seconds to be able to stop the game. Now we see the armor going down, we see the Stingray going down. No picks though, it's a 4v3 situation, finally a 3v3 situation, as this Stingray once again gets a pick. Hypnos coming in clutch, but I'm going to be honest, I think Brian has been more clutch as a backline in this particular game. A lot of the reason that Radiance is in this difficult situation in the first place is because of these plays that Brian's been able to make, and look at how he's surviving with that baller. Hypnos not really able to do much right now, and with this bomb, with this zone take, I don't know if Radiance is going to be able to do this. Hypnos trying to paint zone right now, trying to get a pick to stop things. Only 2 seconds left. They need to get a penalty right now, and then they need to knock it out.
They were able to find that penalty. 9 seconds left to go here. Volty going to get taken down. I believe that's a delayed 3-down situation. So now you're going to notice Radiant starts to push on forward. As you mentioned, they have the ability to go for the game here, and they're almost just about worn through that penalty. Still plenty of time left, though, for the Usual guys to coordinate a push and make it back in. But they're already popping their armor, and none of their players are really in position to really do much of anything here. Here comes another armor coming in from Wadzum to try to get these Usual guys back in favor. But the Wadzum goes down. Kiver's just on the side here, putting out this bomb rush, trying to solve for this time, and now Sendo gets taken out. It's a 3-down situation. I think Radiance probably has this in the bag.
I don't know how Usual guys is going to be able to stop this. That bomb rush I didn't think was going to do much, but people still weren't aware of the position. They had to have known Kiver had bomb rush and that he was flanking. He was definitely called out, but it still wasn't able to be stopped, and that is going to be the lead. Wow.
Well, well done play to Radiance, I suppose, for holding down the entire side of the map, and that's what we talk about in these kind of lockout situations, right? With Kiver all the way on the side, able to put out so much pressure with that bomb launcher, I guess, was able to just kind of take care of business there, but otherwise, I mean, Usual guys couldn't quite seem to step forward, couldn't quite seem to find picks when necessary.
They seemed to break under the pressure towards the end is what I think happened there. I think that you could kind of feel the difference in how they performed and how they worked together in the beginning of the game, in the middle of the game, and then you compare that to the end of the game. They really didn't seem to have as much of an ability to like play well and adapt and plan, because like that flank from Kiver was obvious. Like I know that you threw the point sensor there so he can't flank for a moment, but the Neo Splash had to have been called out. People had to have been aware that there was going to be a bomb rush coming from that side of the map, and Sendout died to it anyway. So I was actually surprised that that flank worked, because as I was kind of saying during when it was happening, this bomb rush isn't really going where it needs to go. Like this is a little bit too obvious, but it ended up working anyway. And man, like that. So at least what we're seeing out of Usual guys is an increase in an increase in performance against Radiance, right? In those last 3 games, I know that there was their pick, so they're kind of expected to play well there. But it's definitely been an upward trend in their performance. Right. They could start taking games.
We'll have to see. But I mean, again, I think the point still kind of holds here that paint control right now, I feel like it's largely in favor of Radiance here, and that's one of the things that I think, looking back at that last play, I want to look back on the overhead especially, to go back and watch exactly how Radiance was set up, and then how little the usual guys was really able to do about it. I think some of that probably had to do with their weapon composition, right? The Junior can only paint so far in front of itself, and that's really the only large painting weapon. Sure, you have a little bit of pressure with the Explosher, but otherwise, like, there isn't really a ton there. And now we're heading back to Snapper Cannal for the neutral pick of Clamblitz.
Where usual guys did do pretty well here last time. It just came down to that one Rainmaker push, them not really being able to become unified there. All right, so we have the double end zap and the custom Dolly Squelcher. We have a tent, and we have an Explosher, and we have a burst bomb, 2 burst bomb weapons. So this comp actually can get a little bit more paint than we've been seeing out of them so far. We'll see how they're able to kind of work together. And kind of make this work out, because one of the problems that we've been seeing from this team was coordination. But looking at Copper Helmet, I have a little bit more faith in it.
The other thing, Hitzel, here, I think on the whole, is the composition on Clamblitz particularly for this map is going to be able to lock down certain areas of the map in ways that is going to be beneficial given that tent umbrella, right? I'm not as worried about paint control on this because it is Clamblitz, because it's such a large map and there are so many ways to get in, and then there's only a short little distance so you can run on in with that tent umbrella canopy, and now looking to shut that down as that push comes in back the other direction. Hitzel's last one back with that power clam, and is going to be able to take out Sendo. Brian can only do so much with the Explosion from the top. Is going to be able to take out Hypnos just a little bit too late. Obito jumping on in. Kivers would gain a couple more clams in the basket here as well, and now it's already down to 45 points here left to go for Radiance. By the way, the colors have switched, so now Radiance is actually in yellow. But well done to them to take care of that first push.
Yeah, it looks like another push could be gearing. Oh, never mind. I thought we were on the other side of the map, silly me. But yeah, no, I definitely think that it was a pretty good defense right there, and I think that what we need to see out of usual guys, though, is to kind of do what you were saying earlier, where to be able to take this 10 umbrella, to be able to kind of like decisively take areas of the map to push forward, because look at what happens after that successful defense. Radiant starts pushing again. We have more people flanking to the right. We have people kind of like causing distractions to the left. Like, this isn't really what we wanted to see as far as a shift in momentum for usual guys in this matchup.
And look at how many resources as well that usual guys committed into that defense to try to dissuade that push coming in from Radiance, or at least kind of stall it out. Right now, they don't have very many specials.
Out of it.
The only one that they really have right now is this armor for Watsum, and now Gray has another power claim. Volti tries to stop this one, but it's not going to be fast enough. Gray's going to be able to find that power claim in the basket, which is going to stall things out for even longer. Now Hypnos is trying to find another pick with this Bamboozler.
I think he'll back up.
Not be able to find it, though, looks like it. But even still, that single play from Gray resets the timers on almost everything. Now you guys, once again, has to try to get map control. Has to find clams right now, by the way. They only have 5 to their name and a pity clam. But now with another one going down, the push timers again resetting, and Radiance is just continuing to keep their pressure up on the map. Now Gray has another power clam once more, and could be looking to try to make one of those more blitz-style plays here again.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about how, you know, on Clam Blitz, the ability to kind of like push forward is really good, and maybe that's why like usual guys has a decent comp. But don't forget, you need to collect clams in the first place in order to push, and map control leads to that, right? Like, you kind of have to play it almost like zones for a little bit until you've collected enough resources, and then convert that into a push. Now, we see usual guys doing that now. Here's their first power clam in. We see Wasm able to get some clams in, send out, able to kind of use this shield to defend himself for a little bit, but it looks like he's going to go down afterwards. What is usual guys going to do to follow up on this control? Gray pushing against Brian, and Volti kind of holding mid. I think actually usual guys are able to get a pick there. So coming out of the situation, they at least have map control, or at least aren't losing map control in any kind of significant way. Problem is they need to be able to convert more points than they just did. They were able to kind of get one power clam and put it in, but they really weren't able to, you know, establish map control long enough to collect enough clams to make a push do anything. You know, 19 is a pretty strong push requirement, right, to be able to come back. And so they're going to need to do a little bit more than just be able to get in a power clam without losing map control. They're going to need to get points without losing map control.
That last little interaction for the last couple of seconds is kind of what's been the moral of this story. You'll notice that 3 members were trying to collapse around 1 member of Radiance. With any other weapons, they'd just be able to completely collapse around that member. And that's exactly the point. In the blink of an eye, Radiance takes the final blow. They're able to go up 4-0 in the set here overall. But you guys seem to be playing a little bit slower, seem to be outpaced by Radiance, I think in a large part thanks to their weapon compositions right now, and they were never fully able to get set up on the map, and never fully able to capitalize things. You know, I mentioned that maybe map control wouldn't be as big of a factor. Maybe at the end of the day it still is.
Yeah, I mean, map control is always going to be a factor in any game, right? Like you can point out situations in like map modes, matchups, weapons, whatever, where hey, paint control doesn't matter as much as normal here because of X, Y, Z. Well, it still matters, right? So if you have enough of a lack of paint control, it can break any back, right? Like you can like play some matchups to your favor, like that Blackbelly pick, for example. But in the end, if you really have that much of a critical weakness when it comes to map control, you're going to lose these matchups no matter what.
Yeah, and so now the grim part of it is, I know I don't want to see another 5-0 either, but we're going to the Radiance map pick now. We're going Radiance to Inkblot Art. We're going to Inkblot Tower Control. You imagine that Stingray is going to come out here and be quite a nuisance.
Yeah.
And it's really going to come down to...
Has Brian picked the Stingray weapon yet? I remember I remember the Bomb Rush Charger.
Once. I think played a Vanilla Charger once.
On Snapper, right? On the other Snapper, the first Snapper game of Rainmaker?
I honestly can't remember. I'm pretty sure he played Vanilla Charger, but I don't remember which game it is.
All right, so no Stingray out of Hypnos. Now we see a Stingray out of Brian, so interesting. We'll see how this matchup ends up playing out. If the kind of flow of tower control is a little bit different without that Stingray coming out of Hypnos. Of course, Bamboozler being a good weapon in Rainmaker and being a good weapon on this map when it comes to backlines. We see an armor going down pretty early out of Sendout. We see some map control. Who's going to get the first pick? How is the first push going to go? How is the tone going to be set for this game? Will it be any different than what we've seen so far? Right now, we kind of see Usual Guys able to take some map control, but gotta go down first.
It doesn't sound like it's going to be any different because I just saw an income get bought from Sendo, and the Usual Guys weren't capitalized on that. They weren't moving forward. Sure, they got control of mid, but they weren't trying to extend their advantage as far as possible. Volty was kind of sitting back, and that's going to be a double actually for Volty, which is going to be critical here. But Usual Guys are still trying to respawn. Kiver's sharking here on the opposite side of the box, going to try to pop out here and surprise at least one of the members of the Usual Guys. Brian trying to get a pick cross map, but again, this tower very much in a neutral situation. The paint control has just been there, and the Usual Guys can't quite seem to do anything about it.
All right, we hear an Inkjet going off right now elsewhere on the map, and yeah, that bomb rush went off, but yeah, you're right. Same thing with the Ink Armor. No one really followed up with it. It seems like the other members of the team that are using the kind of more aggressive weapons that need to take advantage of that sort of thing are being a little bit timid. I don't know if it's because like a false sense of insecurity, or if they really can't push forward against this large amount of paint. Either way, it's not working, and Radiance is the one pushing them.
Radiant's going to be able to clear this first checkpoint. You'll already notice how much yellow ink is on this black side. Now Gray is getting caught off guard here a little bit with the amount of pressure that's getting back the other direction. Volty can get taken down, though, with no map control. Now Wasm trying to step on forward to find one. Is trying to get one and is going to find one on Kiver. Gray's going to go down here as well. So now there's two more left for Radiance, and it looks like they're just going to back away. But already 2 checkpoints cleared for Radiance, and they're looking like they're not going to go away completely.
Yep. I mean, the fact that they still have map control is looking really good for Radiance here. Like, we've been talking in this about this match in the perspective of the Usual Guys and how they can improve, but let's also not forget that like Radiance is putting together really good pushes right now. Now, as I say that, they do get pushed up a little bit. Some specials go down, and this is actually the first time that there's an armor, and then this carbon roller like decisively just rushes up and gets picked. Some effective trades right now in the middle of the map, 2v3 situation. So Usual Guys is still able to kind of get pushes going right now. We see Wasm with the machine kind of putting pressure right now up on this plat. We see people getting on tower, but no real taking of the enemy plat. Now here goes the armor. How are people going to be decisive? Volty and Wasm both kind of just sitting in the same spot over here to the right, but they're not actually like getting up on the plat and causing any kills. Once this tower gets up and around this corner, if this kind of trend continues, Usual Guys isn't going to be able to keep pushing. The members of the tower are going to be kicked off, and then those 2 weapons in the middle are going to be
Usual Guys are trying to defend the tower and set up in order to do that, but right now, Radiance knows that they have to push past the 42-point mark. They have to push past the second checkpoint. They need to approach on the plat, and they're going to get punished for not doing it sooner. Gray comes in to find one. That's going to be a 3-down situation for the Usual Guys, and this tower going to go back to the neutral situation. Again, Usual Guys, you need to be decisive. You need to step forward. When you play aggressive, we know that you can do well, but otherwise here, like, it's really been a name of the game of Radiance controlling the pace of this match so far, in large part thanks to map control, in large part thanks to the positions that they're taking. We can tell they're playing aggressive here. We'll see if the Usual Guys can come back. for a second push, but again, they have to approach, they have to step forward, and they're just not finding the picks necessary.
Yeah, that whole situation where the armor went off and stopped the car from getting a double kill, like, yes, that was on the face of that situation. It seemed like, oh, you push when they had armor, but like, if you had pushed when you were supposed to earlier, they never would have had a chance to get armor. It's kind of like a consequence of further failure to take earlier failure to take action. Now we see some good picks out of Volty right now. We see 1, we see 2, we see 3. That's a triple. Will we see the quad? Yes, we will. That's a full wipe. Now, usual guys need to step into action immediately. They need to take middle of the map, and they need to get into a position where they can get some picks without getting map control, because this is tower control, so it is going to take a while for the tower to get back to mid. So they basically have to make 2 pushes here. First, they need to push to continue the momentum, and then they need to push to actually get points.
Volty, do that on the offensive side now. I want you to flank behind some of these members if you can. I want you to try to find that opening. You're going to need to do that if you want this team. It can't be Sendo being the one stepping on forward, because Sendo is halfway to Ink Armor. Is going to get taken down. You're not going to have that engage here for the usual guys. They have 3 members on plant. They're trying to approach, but here comes Ink Armor back the other direction for the Radiance. The one on tower is going to go down here. Ray's going to go down as well. Watson and Volty both going down. It's the complete delayed wipe at the 20-second mark at the second checkpoint, and it's looking very much like this is Radiance's game to lose.
I don't even know how usual guys can get to tower in time. I think it's all formalities at this point. There's a bunch of blue Inklings running from their plat into mid. Someone needs to get on tower to even start overtime in the first place, and I don't even know if that's going to happen. We see one person dying on tower, another person dying on tower, and that is going to be it. Woo! 5-0 set.
5-0 set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Well, honestly, I was kind of like alluding to in this game, we've been talking about this set in the perspective of usual guys and how they can improve to be able to beat this team that's playing well. But let's not forget that Radiance was a team that was playing well this whole time, right? There were plenty of situations where multi-kills were happening that were previously earned, right, and deserved. We saw lots of situations where specials were being used in a coordinated way. We saw lots of times where like map control was like predetermined, right? Like there's a difference between, I guess, like strategy and tactics, right? Like you have like the overall strategy is where like you're making decisions now that are going to affect decisions in a global sense later, compared to like tactics, which are like, oh, now in the moment I decide to do X, Y, or Z because that outplays my opponent at the time. We saw like very intentional strategy being deployed by Radiance in this matchup, and it was very effective.
It was like that's for sure. I mean, again, like especially on that Inkblot game, right? They weren't falling for the trap that the usual guys were setting up. The usual guys were pushing around that first checkpoint, expecting someone on Radiance to drop. They never did. Radiance knew that they had control of the game. That usual guys needed to push past beyond that second checkpoint mark, and they knew that they had to come to them. Right? In that given moment, they didn't have to shut down the push around the first checkpoint. They could just wait. And so the trap ultimately failed there for the usual guys in that final game. And Radiance takes it 5-0. The usual guys still not quite able to find expectations.
Yeah.
I know that like you're trying to turn this set around, but we have to address the elephant in the room. I think the usual guys have won a single game so far in their
it's pretty rough.
Sets.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. Yeah, I am a guest on this show, and I haven't been able to really fully appreciate how they've been losing these matches before this. I will say that the set, despite them losing the set, still had qualities of
absolutely
another set. Like if you're to kind of take away who's winning, take away the scores, and just look at usual guys' performance as a team, I would say that it's like a sine curve that like started low, got high, and was starting to get it was in the process of becoming low again towards the end of the set. It's just that their high wasn't able to match I don't even know if it was the low of Radiance. Like they kind of just played consistently the whole time. I didn't like really see games where there were any kind of like repeating mistakes or just like anything that was indicative to me of the fact that Radiance was starting to kind of like choke a little bit or like have their lower end of a sine curve. That they were very consistent in the way that they were able to kind of perform over the course of the set. I think there were a few times where maybe individuals kind of were kind of overstepping their bounds a little bit, where they were kind of like, they didn't retreat when they should have, and they were taken out, and that allowed usual guys to kind of like take the map. But that's the kind of thing that happens in all games anyway. There's always someone who overextends just a tiny little bit and gets punished for it. Like, that's kind of like the thing, right? Like, if you just have two teams putting really good pressure and playing really well at each other, eventually like tiny little mistakes make a big difference. And we look at the tiny little mistake and be like, that's what did it. But in reality, it's like the teams are playing so well that eventually like this pressure is going to cause some cracks in the armor, right? So I think that it was just the fact that Radiance was playing on a higher level than usual guys, or maybe if I may say, looking at like the kind of the way that this league has been going so far, usual guys, maybe they're not playing at the level they need to be able to beat these teams, and Radiance may or may not be able to in the end play the way they need to beat some of these other teams. What kind of matches do Radiance have in front of them, right? Like I know that basically.
So to set the stage for the rest of this, Yuju Guys is now completely mathematically eliminated from playoffs, and things have actually all of a sudden gotten slightly more complicated in terms of looking at all of the matches that are coming in between these two. So as I take a look at this, and I'm going to have to do like a game differential analysis, you'll be able to pay attention to the Transatlantic Splatoon League Twitter account for updates when I actually end up doing the math on this. But there is...
That sounds like homework.
There is one scenario where there will be a three-way tie between Radiance, Freeze, and Rift. There is another scenario where Radiance will take first seed and Freeze will take second seed. Both of those are dependent on Radiance beating Freeze, and Freeze is a team that has looked completely dominant so far over the course of this league in the European division. I mean, the only game that they have dropped was a game to Rift. And otherwise, they've been able to win almost everything else here. So,
well, top two get out, right? So, like, what are the prospects for second looking like for Radiance?
So here's the thing: if because of the way that everything's played out, mostly because of the fact that head-to-head wins are counted over top of game differential, because Rift won over Radiance a couple of weeks ago, it's going to mean that if Radiance loses to Freeze, they are out. If Radiance loses to Freeze, it is Freeze first seed, Rift second seed. That's the way the cookie's going to crumble, no matter what happens to the Rift match. Whether it's a win or loss for them. So, that's the thing is, if Radiance wants to make playoffs, they absolutely now must win versus Freeze next week in order to make it in. And this is the team that you were expecting was probably going to make it into playoffs regardless when you first started looking at this league.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. So how many games total do they have left?
There is one match apiece left.
For everybody. Gotcha, okay.
For everyone except Lemonade, I think. And Lemonade is already out of competition. So that is one match or the matches next week are Rift versus Usual Guys and Radiance versus Freeze. So Rift versus Usual Guys looking like it's probably not going to matter as much.
That's like the top seed and the bottom seed, basically, at this point. If we say seed, meaning...
Honestly, Freeze probably looks like they're sitting number one at the top of this league right now.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So Rift is probably sitting number two if we had to guess. But again, we don't know. I will put out a tweet. So basically,
like, if
watch out on Twitter.
Gotcha.
Watch out on Twitter for the tweet that comes out about playoff scenarios. I'll do the math. I'll do the number crunching. We'll get there.
Cool. How complicated is the North American side of this in comparison?
The North American side is pretty much set in stone at this point. FT Win and Starburst are the two teams that are going to make it to playoffs. They will play against one another next week to determine who gets first seed and who gets second seed. But the winner of that match will just get first or second seed. So that's very much straightforward. The European division is much more interesting at this stage in the day. Everyone, thank you all so much for joining us. We are going to begin the whole sign-off process, and I do have a couple of things that I want to mention. First of all, this was my last broadcast as a producer for TASL, no other Transatlantic Splatoon League matches will take place on this channel. So thank you all so much for coming on by and for supporting the channel and the work that we're doing over here. I've appreciated it. Of course, I'm not going away. I'll still be on the mic, hopefully for a little bit next week, in addition to looking towards our playoffs broadcast as well. But that'll be it in terms of broadcasts on this channel. I'm just going to say that might mean you're going to get slightly more scuffed productions, but that is what it is, you know? So thank you all so much for coming on by. I really do appreciate it. If you all wouldn't mind doing me a favor, I posted a little bit ago on Twitter that I am basically doing a little write-up for school about some of the stuff I'm doing primarily for the TASL social media side of things. So if you all wouldn't mind filling out that survey, I would definitely appreciate it. It's nice to hear all of your all's responses and reactions to the kinds of things that we've been putting out there on that account. Otherwise, Hitzel, thank you for joining me. Where can the people even find you nowadays? I feel like you're very elusive.
I'm still on Twitter. I'm semi-active on Twitter, just at Hitzel89. My Twitch and my YouTube still exist. It just master's courses, full-time job. It's been hard to really commit to Splat. I have it in the back pocket. I try to get on and do a little commentary once in a while. I try to go on and just play a little bit just to be not like fully rusty. My entire intent is just to in a little bit less than a year from now, I'm going basically the end of the summer semester, I'm going to be done with my degree and I'm going to have so much more free time again. And I want to come back. I really miss the game. I really miss the community. I'm still, keeping in touch and trying to be a little bit not rusty. But for the most part, you can find me on Twitter. I'm still on Discord all the time, so if you go onto the Academy or just any server that I'm in, if you have any if you're a player and you have some questions or want some advice or something like that, I'm always totally willing to have that conversation and help people out. One thing I should mention is that I was recently given semi-admin status for the r/Splatoon meta subreddit that was active in the beginning of Splat 1 and kind of died. So we've been looking at trying to kind of bring that back and have ourselves as a community well positioned to kind of spread a little bit when more Splatoon, when Splatoon 3, if it ever gets announced or whatever, we can kind of make those moves. So that's something to look forward to in the future. I also have another personal project that was kind of hinted at in that survey that I gave out about a month ago. More details will come of that. So you guys will be seeing a little bit of me in the upcoming future, not the near future. And if you're just in Splatoon circles, you'll end up seeing it when I make the announcement. So.
Well, yeah. Certainly looking forward to it, Hitzel. Always a pleasure being able to talk to you in some form or fashion. I know that I was like, hey, Hitzel, you want to do this thing? I was like, yeah, sure. Right, and then you're like, are you going to send me an essay on these teams? I was like, yeah, sure, I will. And then I sent you an essay, and then you're like, nah, all right, never mind, didn't read it. So, thank you all.
I would have said that even if I read it.
I know, that's
true. I don't know if I read it. Yeah.
Thank you all so much for coming on by. Certainly appreciated. And I look forward to talking to you all next time around. Again, this is the final Transatlantic Splatoon League on broadcast on this channel. So appreciate it. You can follow Ninja and 9. You can also follow the Transatlantic Splatoon League Twitter account at TASL_SPL for all updates related to this league, especially as we gear up and we set our sights on playoffs. With all that out of the way,
I'm looking forward to that.
It should be a real fun one.
I actually will show up to watch some of those.
I've got some good production stuff in the works for that one, so stay tuned. But that's gonna do it for us. Get out your brooms, everyone. Radiance is gonna get the sweep on Usual Guys 5-0 and stay alive in competition as they hunt for playoffs. Be sure to tune in to the remaining matches next week. Week 6 is the final week of Transatlantic Splatoon League's regular season. So don't go anywhere. Keep following the account. Keep up on everything. And we hope to see you all around. Have a good one, everybody.
Later, nerds.